So you are the Lich King's #1 fan and want to control ice just like Arthas did in his teen years as a Frost Decay? Well, look no further, because with Quicks you will learn all you need to know to take your Frost Decay into action and freeze your enemies left, right and center. As a Frost Decay, like many other classes, your goal will be to spend runes to generate runic power and spend it on powerful frost attacks or healing. Your main runic power generating ability that consumes runes will be the hard-hitting Obliterate. You also have a chance to generate runic power through Frost Fever, the dot that will be applied to all enemies hit by Howling Blast. You'll have some long recharging spells which we refer to as cooldowns. Empower Rune Weapon will be one such cooldown that will take 2 minutes to recharge, will increase your haste, generate runes and runic power, it being yet another source of resources. Ha! Your main runic power spenders will be Frost Strike, a strong single target ability that strikes with both weapons if you are dual wielding, dealing high frost damage. The other main runic power spender will be Death Strike, and although it does not increase your DPS if you press it, at least you will survive a little as it will heal you. If by any means you are away from your target and you have some extra runic power to dump it, you can use the Death Coil ability, but usually this will be hardly worth pressing since it does no damage. As a Frost Decay, your Mastery Cold Heart will increase all your frost damage dealt, making the secondary in question a must-have in all situations. Your Rhyme passive will give your Obliterate a high chance to make your Howling Blast hit very hard and consume no runes. With it, your Howling Blast will be the next thing you will press in all situations. The Killing Machine passive will make your auto-attack critical strikes have a chance to transform Obliterate into a frost damage dealing ability, thus being affected by your Mastery, and it will always crit. Another powerful passive will be Runic Empowerment, and it will give each runic power spent a 2% chance to generate 1 rune. Might of the Frozen Wastes will give you a bonus based on what weapons you have equipped. For dual wielding, it will make Frost Strike and Obliterate hit with your offhand weapon as well, and for two-handed weapons it gives a flat 30% increase to Obliterate damage on top of a higher chance to get Killing Machine procs. Onwards to Dark Sucker, a somewhat defensive passive that will increase the Death Strike's healing, and it will be free after you kill an enemy. On a more defensive and utility side, you are a Veteran of the Third War, being a passive that increases your max HP by 10%, and on a Pale Horse will increase your mounted speed by 20%. In your kit, you will use Remorseless Winter, one of your strongest cooldowns. It consumes 1 rune to deal frost damage over time on a 20-second recharge time around you. What makes this a very special button to press will be the Gathering Storm talent and the Everfrost Conduit, as both will increase its damage massively. The Pillars of Frost will be your main buffer, as it will increase your strength by 20% and it will buff this by 1% for each rune spent during its duration. As mentioned before, Empower Rune Weapon will increase your haste by 15% and it will give you 1 rune and 10 runic power every 5 seconds for 20 seconds. Another powerful spell will be Frostworm's Fury. On a long 3 minutes cooldown, it will summon a Frost Worm that will travel forwards, hitting everything in its path for like a gazillion damage points. A less impressive summon is Raise Dead, a ghoul that will fight for you for 1 minute and it will have a 2-minute cooldown recharge. Talking about AoE, Death and Decay, although consuming 1 rune, is still worth pressing in those situations for the shadow damage you will deal on a 30-second cooldown. On the defensive side of the story, like all other DKs, you have access to Anti-Magic Shell. This special defensive will absorb a lot of magic damage, preventing you from getting magic debuffs, and it can generate runic power according to the damage absorbed. Anti-Magic Zone, another shared spell between all DKs, will reduce the magic damage by everyone inside of it by 20%, making it an amazing skill to have and use for your party and raid members. When you get stunned or a big hit is about to come, Icebound Fortitude will give you a lot of damage reduction, stun immunity, and even break you out of a stun if necessary. For all other things like charms, fears, or sleep, you have the Lichborn cooldown that will make you immune to those effects and it will increase your leech by 10% for 10 seconds. With this, you'll be considered undead and you can heal yourself with death coils as well. For forced movement like being dragged or knocked back, you have a solution in Death's Advance. It will increase your movement speed on top of making you immune to the mechanics mentioned before, and also not being able to reduce below a certain movement speed threshold. If those pesky ads run away or you need them in one place, Grip equip them with your Death's Grip on a short 25-second cooldown, and finally Sacrificial Pact will kill your ghoul, dealing AoE damage and healing you for 25% of your maximum health. Frost Decay is a very easy to learn spec. Your strengths consist of a very powerful AoE burst window, good cleave, and decent in single target damage, especially when going for the Breath of Sindragosa build, making your talent builds good for all encounters. Your defensives and self-sustain are amazing with all of the abilities mentioned before. You are very wanted in raids and dungeons for your high damage, but also the big utility toolkit. Raise Ally, which is your combat res, is self-explanatory. Your anti-magic zone that will make your group better survive big magical attacks, Chains of Ice, a very powerful single target slow, Control Undead, which will let you control one undead mob for a very long time while in dungeons such as the Theater of Pain. Death Grip is your personal get over here tool. You benefit from long range interrupt with Mind Freeze. Going into the talent, you will unlock more crowd control options with Blinding Sleet and Asphyxiate. You will save money on enchanting weapons since you can use the rune forging system for various weapon enchants, which are significantly stronger. There are some weaknesses to consider, however. You are not a very mobile class despite having mobility options. When playing Breath of Sindragosa, although very powerful, it is very easy to fail at it and you will end up doing a lot less damage than playing the counterpart Obliteration build. You lack a cheat death to cheese certain boss mechanics, which is something that gives other DPS specs an edge over you. We hope you like this quick guide on how to be a mini Lich King with your Frost Decay. When going out in the world, use the Obliteration talent build that shows on the screen right now. It's an easy build to get into, works really well in all encounters, and punished a lot less than the Breath build, which can still be an option for you once you are comfortable with the spec. For the Breath build and other details like covenants, legendaries, rotation helpers, and more, check out our main Frost Decay guide on our channel. See you next time.